Hi, how are you doing, everybody? My name is Silo Timber, and welcome to the show. We're not alone today. We have Touch and but yeah, how you guys doing?
It's like the music and it's
Totally your turn. How you doing, sir?
Let me tell you.
Got some peanut gallery. Peanut gallery.
Hello, what's up? What's up?
How you guys doing there?
Okay, thanks.
So far, so good.
Yeah, rolling around Durban on a normal day. Who's calling that? Son of a- Rolling around Durban on a normal day. Touch. Why aren't you working? You look like you haven't been to work. Did you come here ready for this interview and change?
The world of work is changing, as you know. It's no longer that drive into the office or get ready at 6 a.m. or you're up at 6 a.m. but you're working on your devices,
Sure,
making calls, going to one, two places.
sure,
You know, you're hustling, but just not like maybe our parents would have done.
sure.
Yeah.
So from the beach, a club.
Not hustling on the beach. I'm coming from my posy. A home office set up there. Yeah, up early in the morning.
Good.
Yeah, my G. Do you mind telling our viewers what you do for a living?
I do a lot of things. Not everything I do necessarily is necessitated towards my living. I'm a community activist primarily.
Yeah.
A youth activist, have been since varsity. I'm involved in youth formations. I'm a member of the ANC, and I've been a councillor for the municipality. Currently, I'm the deputy chairperson of the Moses Scotland Institute, which is a government parastatal, for lack of a better term, that looks at.
You're a board member.
Yeah, I'm a board member. Yeah, research and innovation. That's primarily what we look at in the confines of KwaZulu Natal. So I occupy myself with a lot of that, but also since I quit working for government full time, I've been involved in some private sector work.
Mm.
Yeah, a lot of consulting there. Yeah.
How did that start with the politics, like that direction? Like, was it something that started as a kid in your family? Like, how did that start? Yeah.
That mostly, I think, was influenced from my father.
Mm.
I think he was into politics, and then I just assumed that I was also into politics. But the real activism, I think, probably started in varsity.
Mm.
I think that's where I started to develop ideas of my own and had a platform to pursue it. Because like in high school and stuff, I'll be honest with you, I was in a former Model C school, so there wasn't really much politics going on there.
What school is that?
One of those schools in the South Coast, in Mansum Toti, yeah. I went to Kingsway.
Oh, all right, bro.
Yeah.
I tell you, bro.
Yeah, but also that Monty of proper.
Yeah, but you just one of those
but I mean,
spies. You know, you speak like this.
This is
for
spy.
much, and then you go back home. And
Camouflage.
Oh, yeah, sure, how about Johnny?
Funny enough, I speak like most people I know. I speak like Jing. and Jing is rushed off because after he'd leave his former Model C, he'd go straight to the suburbs. At least me ngang thing at least station system and ranking. I'm walking out. So always that's always been there as
Got you.
Yeah, as a base. But it's true what you are saying, Silo. I think you spend most of the time at school
Yeah.
up until you stop school.
Mm.
You know, but
And then you can reintegrate back into the normal,
Nah, everybody hates you by then.
normal South African society.
yeah, we are and then the guys are big born for years, going to school, leaving early in the morning. We and Tamba, my big child would say, as basic born to each other on. But it's got that song. You know. That's how I found it, at least.
But you work with these people now. You're a community leader. Can we call you a community leader?
I think so, yes, because I whatever leadership experience and roles that I've had, this all come from my community initially. That's where it started. It was guys my age who gave me a position initially and said, "What, don't you go maybe do something there?" You know, I was organizing them. I was organizing my neighbors.
Yeah.
To say, "Come, let's join. Let's go to this meeting." So I think in every sense, I think now even more so because now I interact with various communities.
Even me, his touch has made me make up it volunteer and the post up it, think he post up it. Volunteer up it. I'm like, how did this time? And he post up it.
Yeah, come.
So yeah, it was
It's two sides to it. People always confuse the ANC and government, I think. I think maybe it's become synonymous with certain things, maybe some not so good. And I think the resources especially. And people make that mistake of not being able to differentiate between the party and the government. So everything for them is ANC, you know. Whereas maybe doing some of the community work, we don't have access to the resources of government. We don't get paid at that level, you know. Only people who are elected beyond the regional level actually get paid. Everybody that you see on everybody isn't getting paid except the word councillor, because again, that's government. That's not necessarily the ANC. So a lot of people do make that mistake.
I do feel that's correct. Like I always feel like people, even when we go into like a voting an election time, it's abantu abazi umehluko of the different structures of government. Like ungasichazela kancane ukuthi ihlukene kanjani.
And just like, how do you keep up the work then?
It is largely integrated because our government is party driven. It's political parties who elected and then subsequently deploy their people to these various departments, and that's where people then it's easy because to make that mistake, because the person that you voted in now occupies a strategic position in government, and for them they've been ANC even when they've moved into maybe an official position. They're still ANC, so you've come to them before. So I think with our government, the way it works is that we have three spheres of government. We have a local, which is the municipal that we vote for, your councillors basically, your municipal council. If you're in a Tegui municipality, we elect the lawmakers at that level, which have almost like their own parliament, and they have individuals that we elect at a ward based who are responsible for that particular jurisdiction, and they interact with they're the link between the municipality and the community. Then you have a provincial government which works according to 9 provinces, and there we have we vote for them the same time that we vote for local government. Remember that we have those 2 ballot papers where we vote for mayor and so I mean national government. We vote for them the same time as national government. We vote for the province, and also vote for national. Sure.
Yeah.
So there's a provincial government which is ministers at a provincial level.
Yeah.
So each province will have its own ministers who then look at the province as a whole, not necessarily municipality to municipality, and ultimately have national government.
Yeah.
So
the federal government.
We don't have a federal state.
You know what I mean?
Yes. It's funny that you raised that. I heard recently the premier was speaking about the need maybe to move away from a constitutional democracy.
Yeah.
Have you guys heard that?
No, we haven't. I haven't heard anything about that.
So
important.
Well, currently South Africa is governed by constitutional democracy.
Yeah.
Who have custodians, which are the judges. So we have the judiciary, we have parliament, and we have the executive, the 3 arms.
Sure.
So what's happening currently is that because of constitutional democracy, it's the lawmakers in the form of the judiciary who seem to have now taken a supervisory role and ultimately make decisions and are telling politicians which laws to go and pass, and telling the executive this appointment is proper, this one isn't. So there is an outcry about that because
so then what? Federal, sorry, cut you off. Federal then in the opposite is the executive taking a little bit more control.
No, with the federal system, and you have various states, which, like in America, you've got and they're
essentially each state is a country.
Is almost like a country able to
Yeah.
make its own laws, and even though the constitution is still supreme, but you'll find contrasting laws in various states. But in South Africa, we don't have that. We have this unitary structure where it's one constitution and it's one rule of law. Whether you're in Bloemfontein or you are in Durban, you're guaranteed the same rights, same privileges. So we're not federal in that sense. But what we do have is that currently, amongst what seem to be political engagements, you've got the courts coming in and taking a stance. You saw Justice Zondo coming in when you're still Deputy Chief Justice and answering to Lindiwe Sisulu and saying to you, I disagree with you, this and that. So it's almost become kind of a political player. So I think the Premier was raising the argument to say that it's incorrect in essence for the courts to be above Parliament. Parliament, as a lawmaker, should be the final. We need a parliamentary democracy where we tell the judges, go legalize this, but this is what we believe is correct.
But isn't it like that, like right now? Because, for instance, let's say data must fall. Data must fall is squarely Ikasa, if I'm not correct, is the person in charge of all the data in the country.
And that other guy, Gary Cliff. It's that tribe.
Yeah, they're all part of the data must fall.
Yeah. So what that was is like the price is too high for the normal citizen, bring it down, So who regulates the people that are in charge of this? So who then goes to Parliament and says, hey, speak to these guys? Why is that process never done? Because I see all the shouting, but we never go to the regulatory bodies that are in charge of these different industries.
It's moved beyond that point. What you're saying does happen. But now we're talking about the decisions made by these bodies and made by the institutions. The fact that the very decisions can be overturned by a court.
Okay.
So we can exercise our right to appoint, get a CEO, get a whatever board, but then the board will take a decision, and then the judges somebody will petition the judges to come and change the decision, and that's what's happening. So ultimately, I think what we're speaking about is that maybe when those kind of decisions are made, it must be final. You can't have judges overruling that. Rather, you'd have
it's like you can't try it again or go through it again or contest it again.
It needs to be final. The laws need to suit what we're trying to do as a country.
But who determines that?
The final word.
The final word is the courts currently. That's the problem.
Sure.
I think that's the problem, because with Parliament, we're not speaking about an ANC Parliament. We're speaking about or DA Parliament, speaking about a Parliament where all parties are represented.
Yeah.
And then in order to get the 2/3, you need various political parties to come to and have a consensus. So we're not the way it is, we're not speaking about one party going and taking a decision. We're speaking about various people coming together and saying from different political organizations that this is what needs to happen here,
Sure.
Yeah, but that is the right thing to do.
Sure.
Not necessarily the legal thing to do, which is what is happening now. We're basing it more so on what the legal limitations are. Yes.
As opposed to the impact.
Yes.
Do you think
Because I'm thinking it's like, okay, so who would most likely have an agenda within like play? So if the courts make the final decisions, do those decisions in any way affect like a personal agenda that they may have within play, or is it like it's just like they're imposing a rule on this side of the court, like on this side of like courts is in like the soccer field or whatever the case is, like on this side of the game?
The courts are also exposed to influence.
What are you asking? Whose interest do they serve?
Yeah. Like, do their decisions affect their interest or whatever they have in the long run?
Yeah, are they conflicted? Well, recently, Justice Mokheng, Chief Justice Mokheng.
Yeah.
I think we all know about the comments that he's made about that, and how he's exposed how the courts have been compromised to some extent by influence. But also, I think without even citing necessarily certain comments by anyone, because I know whenever you quote someone, people always posture against what they may have
Sure.
on that particular issue. But I think if we can accept that politicians and business, for example, can all be motivated by certain influences and can all serve a certain agenda, then we must be willing to accept that so can judges because they're human as well.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things the previous Chief Justice raised at some point. I think it was before our current president came to power, was that, guys, if somebody's paid, is given lunches before, is then not prepaid state capture, something along those lines, you know. Does it not affect the policy of the future, I think is what we was trying to get at. And I think what you're trying to see is who's on whose side at the various levels of...
Yeah, like someone is like, get off my foot, like, don't watch me. And the other person's like, I don't want to, like, don't watch me.
We've got a law student here. What do you think about this situation?
I think that, I don't know, in order to get to a place where you're able to be like a judge or a chief justice, I think it takes certain characteristics, which I think impartiality and indifference is one thing, where you can't look at something and think of someone else's interest because you serve the Constitution. You don't serve a certain political interest or a political party. Your duty is to the Constitution and to the citizens. So through law school and through like varsity, I think we learn certain things that stray you away from being subjective but more objective in terms of the law. So I think that whose interest do they serve, I don't think that should be a problem within the constitution of democracy. And I don't think moving towards a federal democracy or federal governance is the right way to go either.
Can I just ask, do you think it's possible for judges in the Constitutional Court of South Africa to be influenced?
Yes, they're human.
Yes, that's also what I wanted to ask. Like, I hear what you're saying, but then in your lived experience, do you think a human can run away from 20 million racks, you know, to just like, you know, just say yes in Parliament, you know, what, you know.
Well, we can always hope that people will do the right thing because we're all expected to be people of good faith.
Is that not then back on the citizens to say, are you looking at the people you guys are putting in power?
Do you know if politics was like on a blockchain and everything was transparent and even like the law and stuff like that? We just have polls then.
I think politics is like it's a substructure of the economy. It's based on the economy and it's every aspect of it. Whichever party you got, it's always got something to do with it. If we can agree that our economy is probably the most warped and the most uneven, unfair,
sure, you
know, unequal in the world,
sure,
what kind of expectations can we then have, honestly, on our political system? If the very thing that divides us we can't even address, you know. Yeah.
And legally, you also you can't address it accordingly.
There's this thing called cultural hegemony. It's when the oppressor has gone beyond winning the physical war, and now has institutionalized institutions that reinforce the oppression.
Sure.
So they've come here, they've defeated us in battle. Then they've introduced schools that enforce what they're speaking. They introduce churches, they enforce whatever they may speak. They introduce professions, cities, town. Everything that they come with is here to further justify. You know, you know, whenever you try and defend or speak about racism, some of the first defenders will always be black professionals. Yeah, you know. Sometimes let me take away the word professionals because it'll have the academics saying, no. Even if it's not necessarily a professional, but a black, somebody who's been institutionalized and has a certain function in the system.
Yeah.
will be the first to come and say, no, what you're doing is wrong. You know? Yeah, and in South Africa we have this thing of belittling the solution. Like I think white media and institutions have done such a great job.
Does that not go to the experience then? Because the individual experience creates the larger societal experience and psyche. So what is the individual feeling for them to take this decision that is not for the greater good of society? And then how, you know, when do you decide to be a particle? When do you decide to be a wave?
I think that the context is very important, because every view is subjective. Like, if you ask you to draw this microphone, you get one picture. If you ask me to draw it, but it's still the same microphone. So,
yeah.
So the perspective, but also the context of which it's happening, and I think is so critical. I think with us, one of the main problems is that there isn't any prevailing thought or prevailing school when it comes to anything. Even the political, the MDM structures, you know, the ANC, the SACPs, the COSATUs, who at some stage had mobilized the bulk of everyone, we're not speaking their language. You know? There's no popular narrative.
What do you mean by that? Can you just go into...
So it's like a cultural thing.
What is that common narrative too? You know?
We haven't, or we don't. You know, let me make an example. If you go to Latin America, there's a lot of the socialist thought there. You know, with Lula, Castro. You know, there's been a lot of social socialists and communists who've ultimately become leaders of those countries. You know, there's that prevailing socialism,
like a school of thought.
That dominates that part. If you go to Europe, capitalism is the way to go. But if you come here, even amongst ourselves, as Africans, there isn't any prevailing. As the South Africans as well, there's nothing that unites ordinary South Africans. The five of us here, if you ask us our views about land, they'll differ so much.
Yeah, but that goes back to that cultural hegemony you're speaking about, because it's like that because of that. So is there a way forward from that? Because borders were put in by other people. In Africa, it was like, if it's inside Nigeria type of thing.
Sure.
How do you reverse it? Is it possible? Is there solutions in schools of thoughts of how it's reversed and, you know, glued back together?
I'd go back to what we were saying about the politics, but it being a substructure of the economy. I won't lie and say that I believe that if we were to adopt a certain school of thought, that our problems would disappear and that we'd be fine and then we'd catch up. But I believe no matter which school of thought we have, we should, as a basic minimum, be given what belongs to us first and then let us decide. Yeah.
Do you want to add this?
No, I agree very much now, actually. He's captured everything. I just keep nodding. But he's actually got it all.
Yeah. Whether we decide to be socialist, be right wing, like they are in Poland, whatever we decide.
I agree. It's kind of like the arts held in Europe there. And sorry,
the gold and the diamonds that belong to us, the
and the
star,
mosques and the cave and the whatever. You know, I think there's a narrative that says they wouldn't know what to do with it. They don't know how to protect it. It's ours. Let us decide what to do. Let us decide to destroy it. It shouldn't be, but let us decide. I get you.
That's precisely the problem with academia and economics and all these things. They're very much important, but they're not important if you're only controlling 10% of the economy as to what 80-something% of the population. It doesn't matter. It's here to distract.
I think during the looting, that was one of the hardest things to accept. I don't know a friend whose dad owns a factory of bread making or the ATMs are out. I don't have a friend whose dad has got some sort of exchange company or whatever it is. Our infrastructure as Otaki. Hey, because at the same time I saw other people getting bread delivered in trucks at their homes while I was cycling through neighborhoods. It's like, yo, dog, yo, where's our food truck? Touch, where's your food truck? It's understandable because at the same time, as an entrepreneur myself, finding capital as a black man in this country is is a joke. So let us decide.
I'm just thinking.
Yeah, Demo.
Okay, can't. I'm thinking. Okay, so. Okay, let's leave distribution in terms of how it go about. And then let's just think of who'd be responsible for it, and then who would administer like the function of it.
Of what, the restoration?
Yeah.
No matter what form, how you operationalize it, whether it's coming in the form of land, whether it's coming in the form of gold, whether it's coming in...
No, sure.
Whatever.
I'm just saying, like, in terms of, like, the current handlers now. Like, I'm saying, like, in terms of, like, whatever we have now.
How do we make that work?
Yeah, like, if we made, if we could make it work with what we have now. And then...
The beautiful thing about this country is that outside of a few extreme right parties or ultra left, no one is saying that somebody should leave or somebody should be given their own republic, We just
Cape Town wants to go independent.
Yeah.
It's not possible.
Yeah, I don't think it's possible.
It's not possible. I'm sure if you go into those squatter camps in Khayelitsha and Wanyanga, where the majority of the people are living in those flats there, they'll have a different perspective on it. What needs to happen is that we just need to get the equity right. I'd rather we deal with that problem when we get to it.
Wasn't there was an African president who did like a transition thing? I'm not sure if it was was it Rwanda? No, I'm not too sure, but I found the reference. So he sort of like phased it out, like in phases. So you sort of had to educate the people first before just like getting rid of everyone or whatever. So it's like it may be like an 80-year process or whatever the case is. But if you go from from 0 to 100, it's like also whatever you get in that space, whatever you get, you may not to say you shouldn't get it. No, like I'm just saying like
look at China. Like China did that. Like you want to make a factory here? Okay, teach my people what you're doing.
Yeah. Like it must be like the people must feel it's like
30 years later the Shenzhen.
Like
The problem with those kind of arrangements is that the oppressors or the colonizers in most instances haven't been very honest. We're speaking about reparations for our oppression.
Sure.
What's happened with these
reparations?
What's happened with these treaties and stuff where these European countries leave the African country, they've almost tended to pay reparations to the European countries for leaving. Instead of it being
you pay tax.
You pay
France.
taxes. They control certain things. They're allowed to have your own currency. You give them all your tobacco. They buy from you for 50%. Look at the story of Haiti, the first country in the world. The French, once those guys won independence, came back 20 years later with ships.
Sure.
And said to them, if you don't pay us 26 billion, we're gonna take you over again. and they paid that debt up until 1946. First country in the world. Today it would be 26 billion. Yes, it's the same thing that's happened here. We've had sunset clauses. Those were incentives.
Contracts, right?
Those are incentives for the people who took by force and barrel of gun to say, leave, please, we'll pay you to just go. You know, so that's the issue I've had with that. But whenever we speak about reparations as black people, it always seems like we're crazy.
Yeah, but it wasn't our grandfather's fault. It wasn't us.
No.
I was born after this. It can't be my fault. Why must I give you? Why must I give it to you?
But certain laws that were made to protect what your grandfather won are still here.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, let's not get to conspiracy theories before we get kicked off YouTube because we do have a landlord. I want to go to something more lighter.
Something's going to edit that, that's for sure.
We're too lazy to edit anything out of nothing. You get something because I got sent something again at 2 a.m. in the morning. It's about the Will Smith thing.
Oh, wow.
About the what?
The Hollywood.
Let's go back to Hollywood again. So, our ghost producer sends us, y'all stupid. The person who played G.I. Jane cheated on her husband with the dude from the 70s show who was much younger than her. Motherfuckers don't even know that joke was deeper than the surface. So apparently, the joke can pass
It's
along.
an August Alsina joke.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, the person apparently I haven't checked this.
I thought the G.I. Chain thing was about
This
her
is a
hair.
meme. It's not factual. We're discussing a meme. So, yes, that meme says that G.I. Jane, that means the joke was layered.
Okay,
How do you feel about this whole thing? Do you have a take on it? Because I don't have a take. My take is I think it was fake.
Fake.
I think Will Smith's weak.
Why?
I think Will Smith
And
is
conflict
weak.
begins.
He's weak.
Go.
I wish I hadn't thought he was a superhero, actually. I like that guy.
Really?
Man. He's embarrassing.
Like, when did it die?
It's embarrassing. After he cried because his wife was sleeping with his son's friend. He went and cried over a table in front of the world. Now he's slapping comedians because he's angry. So now Will Smith is weak. Will Smith actually found that joke funny.
That's the main part.
He laughed. He almost clapped and stomped his feet. That's how much he found it funny. Until he saw how angry that dragon was.
I mean, that's not nice.
Okay, I'll take that back. I'll take that back. I'll take that. But look at dragon like fierce and powerful and exotic. Look at dragon like that.
Yeah.
Dragon in that way.
And you, madam, what's your hot take?
I don't know. I just thought it was so romantic.
Why?
Because he stood up for her. Oh, like in front of the entire world. Regardless of whether he found it funny, he saw that she didn't like it, so
you condone the violence?
Romance, slow
So do you think it's right or wrong?
Is violence okay?
I don't think there's a right or wrong in this situation.
When you have rights and wrongs, you have words you don't like.
Yeah.
So what do you mean there's no right or wrong?
Well, I don't know. I think it was a reaction to a catalyst. But
As a judge, would you convict Will Smith?
yeah.
Is he going to jail?
Oh, he's going to jail.
Well, maybe not jail, but I mean, he is
For
guilty of
assault.
Community
something.
service.
Yeah, he's guilty of something.
So he's not going to jail because he's Will Smith?
Because
So
you
violence
don't
is not
respect
okay.
black men. You feel like black men is good enough to get off and he doesn't deserve to go to jail because Chris Brown is just another disposable black man. ChrisRock.
Well, first of all,
we're all
Chris
the same
Brown is-
anyway.
What did Chris Brown do?
That light skin thing of his.
Bro, he paid his dues.
I misnamed ChrisRock.
Yeah, when it's touch.
But so you can't. He the thing is, would he have done that to somebody else?
We don't know.
You saying if he was white?
I'm saying if Brad Pitt made that joke, or
Brad Pitt's not a
Right.
comedian.
okay, another comedian, whoever you want. If Ellen had made that joke, he would have walked up and snapped.
Can't hit women.
Jim Carrey.
You can't hit other men as well, but he did. So what's to say?
No, but you specifically cannot hit women.
I mean,
Not even in self-defense.
No, you.
I go.
Yo, you gotta have
why
a
you want to hit
camera on
women,
you.
bro?
Yeah. Like, bro, don't defend yourself.
Shady.
Just
That's
take
shady.
it.
Don't bring us to that. Wait, no. I am not part of that. No circumstance can you actually. So yeah. I mean, I'm questioning many things about that. Also, the fact that Ujung pointed out the fact that he was laughing at the joke.
Cause he found it funny.
He found it funny.
Hilarious,
Me,
dude.
you see me, all I have is that his wife gave him a look that he's scared of.
Dog.
Yeah,
I'm jumping.
exactly.
Actually, dog, fuck you, dog. If this joke
That's not
was about August Alsina, dog, as the one you slept with my son's friend, I'm able to laugh at myself for you sleeping with my son's friend, and you're angry at that I'm laughing that you slept with my son's friend.
No,
romantic
how?
must seem.
But it's true, man, it's true.
How you? If I'm laughing at that, if that's if that's the real joke, and I'm able to crack up at that, and you angry,
Yeah,
What Will Smith did was not
About
cool.
the-
It was not cool.
Yeah.
It hit Chris Rock, especially because it's Chris Rock.
it's a comedian.
Especially a legend like that, man. You know,
It's disrespectful amongst
Actually, it would have been better for his whites. Mine is that
Yeah,
a
being
nigga
jailed, bro.
moment with
This
two
channel
guys,
does not promote
they're
violence
on this
against
thing,
white
and
people.
now you give them
You're
a
gonna get us
chance.
cancelled, Doug. You're gonna get us cancelled, Doug.
Okay, I'm just saying the optics.
Optics would have been better.
Yeah, mine is like ish. You just all of it like wherever you go with shame. Because on women's side, shame. On Christmas.
the fact that you made me say where I work has really limited what I would have said on many a thing. Unless you can promise to cut that out.
I wasn't gonna put where you work. I was gonna put your name, and people don't listen to this. Like 20 people listen to this.
Yeah, but you know how it is. One day,
Yeah.
So it's not about where you work. It's just about one day.
that's why where I work. I want to hear the
Are
institution.
you gonna work there one day? Is that what you're saying? So you're really limiting yourself. Is what I'm saying. So it's not me limiting you.
Bro, I'm not gonna fall for this trap. That's what I'm gonna say.
I see it. It's a trap.
It's a trap. I'm not gonna fall for this. I'm not fall for this.
I ain't say nothing, Doug. I ain't say nothing. What's wrong? What's wrong?
I ain't got nothing to say about that.
No. So moving off of it, I think I don't have anything to say.
You must just go to jail, Doug.
Jail.
I mean, not jail, but you must just get whatever he's getting.
Charged.
Whether it's a fine or something.
You must be
just-
charged.
Yeah,
And they must
just,
take that Oscar.
Yeah.
And that apology for me just wasn't.
It wasn't even
what apology?
Wasn't an apology. And
It was
especially,
an I'm a protector type of thing.
you know, 10 minutes later, he was on stage. He didn't apologize to
You
Chris
read
Rock.
the apology.
I read the apology.
I haven't read what the apology is.
He apologized to the Academy, apologized to Chris Rock. He actually he actually named him this time. It was first
Christopher.
No, it was Chris. But even then, you know, I felt like he could have lamented about the apology as much as he lamented about other things in that apology. You know, the Academy. Oh my God, the Academy.
Yeah, he went
Oh, they're
off
like,
there.
you wallowed there.
Hmm?
And then with Chris, it was just the
So
show.
just one line, say Chris. Sorry, I slapped
Hey,
you.
sorry, Chris.
I mean, the Academy. Also, like, why? Again, let's not respect a black man. He won an Oscar, though.
Crocodile
After
tears.
beating a black man on stage.
Yeah, man.
Dog.
But the Oscar, though, the Academy.
Nah, man. It was the streets. Things happen differently.
Nah,
So-
So it's fake. They said, we'll give you the Oscar.
But you hit Chris Brown. I mean, Chris Rock.
Hey, Chris Brown,
Chris Brown is definitely wanted, yeah. Just talk about Chris Brown and get it over with.
It is like Cody being in jail.
Like, Chris Brown would not have taken that slap.
Yeah. You wasn't gonna learn. You wasn't gonna learn.
Yeah, it was a throw
Because I'm a
down.
hands. Yo.
So it's
Yeah, no, Chris, well, he was not.
Yeah.
Probably going to be the end of the show with that.
Yeah.
Just cut it.
Yeah. But shout out to Chris Rock. He took it like a champ. Hey.
I mean,
He took it like
Did you hear the
Do
wow?
champs take it?
no, I think
Do champs take it though?
I think
There's no winning for Chris Rock.
Wait. I think it goes there with Lapana, is that like he imposed himself in the whole situation. Yeah, but this what her look on her face is important, and we should all be here about this look on her face, which is important. Everyone who dressed up, who cares, my friend, who came and paid to put this thing together. This is the important thing right now. About Chris Rock didn't do that. About for his own good in JN. Because if it was two black guys there fighting, it's the Oscars, dog. They're on stage. That would have even been worse, dog. That would have been worse.
This is why we don't
Free
want
Larry
black people.
Hoover.
That would have been worse, dog.
Yeah, but right now, none of us would be doubting Chris Rock. You know, we'd be like,
Yeah, but he should have
Chris Rock's a
done
G.
something.
You know what I'm saying? So what he did to Will Smith.
I'm upset that Chris Rock got hit. Actually,
Yeah.
So much.
It's like if you get judged, you know, like be like, yo, homie, step back. Don't play like
Chris
that.
Rock, but he's
Don't
a
play.
legend.
It's a legend.
But they're wrong, man. They're wrong, man.
It's floppy,
I
man.
think I like shower.
RadioDR.co.za, deeplyreading.world. That's where you can catch all of our podcasts.
We do not advocate for violence.
We do not advocate for violence. No white people were hurt in the making of this podcast.
Only Chris Rock.
Only Chris Rock. Thank you for coming, guys. Thank you so much. Does the peanut gallery have anything really last to say?
Cheers. Oh, it's been great. Hopefully Chris Rock's okay.
Wow. Lady Love.
Actually, he deserves a fair shot. Just one clean shot. And then sweat.
Pamela.
That's okay. And then you sweat.
If you're sorry, let me hit you.
Yeah. It's real.
Thank you, guys.
Okay.
It's been real. Yeah.
RadioDR.co.za.